Welcome to Carolina Real Estate Insider, the podcast where we break down the news of the day affecting real estate here in the greater Charlotte area. I'm your host, Realtor Kathy Smith. Brace yourselves because today's episode is not for the faint of heart. I want you to picture this. You found the perfect home, the one you've been waiting for, the one you've been dreaming of. But what if I told you that beneath that fresh coat of paint and the charming facade, your dream home could be harboring nightmares that may haunt and cost you thousands of dollars for years to come? Well, today we're going to unravel stories that will make your spine tingle with real-life tales of unsuspecting buyers and sellers who thought they were living the American dream, only to find themselves trapped in real estate horror stories. But fear not, we're not here to terrify you without reason. Instead, we're joined by a seasoned real estate team of attorneys, Nick Bowling and Sarah Gannon, who will guide us through the maze of potential nightmares and share how you can arm yourself with the knowledge needed to turn your real estate dreams into a reality. So tighten your grip on that armrest, folks, because today's episode, it's a journey into the darker side of real estate. Well, it's about to begin. Purchasing or selling a home is a significant financial transaction, and there's more to it than meets the eye. To guide us through the complexities, we have Nick Bowling from Bowling & Gannon, an esteemed real estate attorney with years of experience. Welcome, Nick.
How are we doing, Kathy?
Doing great today. So I want to thank you for coming on the episode. To kick things off today, though, Nick, can you explain what due diligence is and why it's so crucial in real estate transactions?
Happy to do so. Again, thank you. We're excited to be here. Due diligence in North Carolina is a relatively newer thing, came about in about 2011, and it literally covers the inspection period a buyer can do. In North Carolina, we deal with the Latin phrase caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. You are buying a home as is. So to make it a little bit more fair for buyers and sellers, we as the real estate industry created the due diligence period. So a due diligence period is a period of time, whether it be 14 days, 30 days, 45 days, where the buyer gets a period to inspect the home, have a sewer inspection, radon inspection, get the appraiser in there, get your title work done. So that way you can see behind the scenes, behind the walls, find out what that beautiful home actually has in store for you. So you have a period. Like I said, you bargain for that period for a time. And in order to get that period, you pay a fee. That's a due diligence fee. So you have a fee and a period. That fee that you decide on, you turn over at contract execution date to the seller. The seller takes that fee. They deposit it. It's their money. And in most cases, that fee is a non-refundable fee because you are buying a time period. So long as you get that time period to actually do your inspections, you have got the benefit of the bargain you paid for. So think of it as a time that you get to do inspections, and that fee is non-refundable.
And Nick, just to clarify, that's not the same as earnest money, correct?
That is correct. Earnest money, you're thinking as a deposit that's either held by the attorney in trust or it's held by your realtor in trust as a good faith deposit for the house. That is not the same as due diligence. Again, your due diligence fee, buying your inspection period, so that way you can figure out all the details that you need to know to buy, or enough details for you to say, enough, I'm out. That due diligence period buys you the right to walk away for any reason or no reason. You can go at any time during that period, and you are legally entitled to receive your deposit back, your earnest money deposit, not your due diligence. Remember, that's non-refundable. You bought that period, you did your inspections, it belongs to the seller. Now, there are some limited circumstances where you can get that back that we can discuss in a little while, but most things, it's non-refundable.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Now I'd like to delve into some common issues that can arise when due diligence is not conducted thoroughly. So, Sarah, let's turn it over to you. What are some red flags that buyers should be aware of when they're looking at a property?
Kathy, thank you so much for having us today. We're super excited to be a part of this. Everything Nick said was absolutely true. The due diligence period is that time period the buyer has to decide whether or not they want to pursue purchasing the property. This time period is crucial because there can be some red flags identified during this time period if you diligently do your due diligence. Some things, if you're doing an inspection, the inspector can find things that are hidden to the eye. Sometimes there might be a water heater issue. There may be some damage behind the walls, termite issues. There may be an unsecured deck, unsecured railing, whatever it may be, things that you don't necessarily know how to check for as a buyer. An inspector can really aid you in finding out what those things are that need to be drawn to your attention. And I think the best way to picture this is imagine yourself as a buyer and put this in a real life scenario. If you were interested in purchasing a house to live in, what are things that you don't necessarily anticipate dealing with? A house is not a cheap investment. If you are going to be purchasing a house, are you anticipating changing the roof within the next 2 years? Are you anticipating doing a major foundation repair? And a lot of times the answer is no. So it's this time period that you have to discover whether or not you're going to have to deal with these issues.
That's very fascinating, Sarah, because one of the things that I've found with some of my clients is we'll have the initial home inspection. And then because of the results from the home inspection, it requires us to call in other inspectors to dig a little more deeply, like things like radon gas, for instance. Having a radon test, a lot of clients will I'll just pass on it. It's another couple $100. I don't want to pay the money. But we're talking about something that could cause cancer, right?
Yeah, this is absolutely right. So, and again, it depends on what your purpose is. If you're going to be moving into this house with your family, a couple $100 are going to take you a long way. You want to make sure this house is exactly what is the best situation for you and your family. Now, if, for instance, you're purchasing this house because it's in your mother's neighborhood and you are in a hot market like we are here in Charlotte, you don't care what is wrong with that house, you're prepared to tear that house down just to get that lot of land next to your mother, then some people choose to forego the due diligence period, believe it or not. It just depends on what your intentions are. But most of the time, that's a big investment for a lot of people. It's one of the biggest investments everyone will make in their lifetime. So this 2-week time frame, whatever the time frame may be, use it wisely. Find out if there are going to be any costly items to you once you sign up for this house.
Yeah, going without due diligence is terrifying, honestly. But, let's talk on the flip side now. We've talked a lot about the buyer side, but what about sellers? I know they have their own responsibilities when it comes to disclosing. So Nick, let's talk about the legal implications. What if a seller fails to disclose material facts about the property?
That's a great question. When sellers go on contract, they are supposed to fill out a property disclosure form. And that's supposed to give the buyers a great insight on, hey, I've never had problems with the roof. I've never had problems with the septic, or I've never had problems with the water heater. And it's a good way for a buyer to go down a checklist. Okay, this is great. But people lie, or in some cases, there is a checkbox on that property disclosure that says no representation. So sellers are required to disclose material facts, such as I replaced the roof last year, or there is a leak in the basement from a water main and my basement is flooded. I'm fixing it currently. They cannot check I have no problems with water leaks. So a seller's obligation during due diligence not only is to disclose material facts, but to give access to the buyer and their buyer's agents to do a proper inspection. So kind of going back to, I said, what would be a time where a due diligence fee would be refundable? You kind of led into that. Material facts that weren't disclosed. Those are great times where due diligence comes back.
And I guess, Nick, we probably should to disclose to our client, to our people, our listeners today, what a material fact is.
Fact is something that would change the funds or the actual nature of the transaction. So if you declare on the property disclosure, it's a 4-bedroom, and you get in there, your inspector gets in there and says, actually, this 4th room has no window, has no closet, has no view to the outside. Legally, it's not a bedroom, but you were only putting this offer in because you needed a 4-bedroom house. That's a material fact. Or another one, I'm selling 20 acres and we get that survey done and it's 5. A material fact would substantially change the property value, and a 4th bedroom acreage problem is a material fact. You can kind of go down the line on those. It's very broad and just would have to be litigated in all senses and purposes.
Those are the scariest words around, litigation. But the thing is, Nick, though, I see a lot where we've got a house in the country and it's on septic and they say it's a 4-bedroom. But when you pull the septic permit from the county, it only says it's approved up to 3. So that's a material fact because it does change the size of that property from a 4-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, right?
Exactly. So again, an inspection period would find that. And if you buy it without doing your due diligence and not inspecting it, you've got a long and lengthy road to get that back. Because again, I stated earlier, you're buying it as is. And your only route in that instance is to litigate that the seller misrepresented to you.
But I mean, these are great insights. I mean, it's to me, it's evident that both buyers and sellers need to be diligent in their respective roles. I mean, it goes to show that due diligence is more than just a simple home inspection that we need to do. But, before we wrap up, let's get into the scandalous, the tantalizing real life tales or examples or cautionary tales that we should share with our viewers. So let's start with you, Sarah. What kind of crazy stuff have you seen?
So I'll start with a personal experience. When I was purchasing my house with my husband, our inspector found behind exactly what you said at the beginning, behind a fresh coat of paint, there was some patching and it looked like some dried up water. So we had to ask the sellers about it. And of course, the sellers showed us that they had made a claim with an insurance company. They had a contractor repair this water leak and that this has been a done situation, case closed. And during our due diligence period, me, my husband, and my agent all decided we're okay with this. We're okay with moving forward because they provided us with the proof that it's all been taken care of. So we were good to go. Some crazy stories, though. I mean, due diligence is really a time to check for anything and everything. If there is a small building in the back, you want to check to make sure, is it permitted? Has it been allowed to be constructed? Is it a tangible personal property item? If so, is there a lien on it? Is there a lien against it? Is there potential after you buy this house? Could it be repossessed? Ask these questions during due diligence period because you're entitled to do so.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I had a client last week actually send me a house and said, "Hey, this just hit the market. What do you think about it?" And I don't know what just struck me, but something was off about this property. And I actually went to Mecklenburg County and to the land use website and pulled the permits for this property. The tax records only stated it was a 1-story, about 900 square feet, but MLS said it was about, double that, about 1,900 square feet. And there were no permits ever for this house. So the entire second floor was built unpermitted. And in the remarks, the agent had said that they were related to the seller and that they had no knowledge of any permits. So that was a nightmare waiting to happen. And luckily, my client trusts me enough that we've moved on to another property. So that could have been a nightmare. But it was crazy. So Nick, what about you? I mean, you've got years, my friend, of knowledge and experience with these closings and crazy stuff that's happened. What about you? What have you seen?
My horror stories don't end as nice as Sarah's personal purchase. My horror stories along the same lines with you is there was a wonderful home that had a beautiful, what do you call a frog, a front room over garage that they had totally remodeled and gutted out that the buyers fell in love with. Well, during the due diligence inspection period, the appraiser comes out there and says, okay, this is a square footage problem. I don't have any of this square footage. I go to pull permits. It was unpermitted. The seller watched a lot of Bob Villa and decided they were going to do it all themselves. They built the frog. They put the bathroom in, totally unpermitted. And so the appraiser says, well, we can't use any of this square feet for the house. So we have to take that off the appraised value. Well, don't you know, now the buyers do not qualify for their loan anymore because the house value doesn't qualify for what the loan was supposed to be. And the only way to get it was to rip the walls off, rip the bathroom out, gut it, have the inspector come out there, give a permit, rebuild it, re-permit it to the tune of about $60,000. And in this case, the seller knew about it. They disclosed that they had done the work, but didn't know, an honest mistake, didn't know they had to have it permitted. They thought, if I did the work, it's okay. And so they had to come out of pocket. That's $60,000. And luckily we were able to close. But that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. And Nick, there's been a thing floating around for years, and I don't know where this has come from, that I guess it was, at one time it wasn't. I think they've changed it since with Mecklenburg County with the permitting folks, where if you were the homeowner and you're going to live there, that you could do $30,000 worth of renovations to a property without a permit. However, I think today's code states that if you're going to have anything that is having to do with electrical or plumbing, major systems like that, it has to be permitted no matter the dollar amount. But you'll find a lot of these properties that are being flipped where, you'll have drain pipes just draining to the crawl space and stuff like that, because the homeowners did it themselves and they didn't know how to finish the plumbing off and reconnect. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Exactly. And those things can get worse than what you think. I had a home that had a beautiful, I think it was a Bradford pear tree, beautiful tree, about a 50-foot tree that was off to the side of the house. And the buyers, I don't know if you're from North Carolina, Bradford pears, they smell awful. So the buyer decided once they got the house that they would just tear it down. And it caused them two problems. One is the HOA said you had to have a tree there, and it would have been easily disclosed in a title search period. And two, a mature tree soaks up a lot of water. That ended up becoming a virtual sinkhole where it just sucked in because the drain from the street went down between the lots. So all the rushing water that had been soaked up by that tree that's now gone just sunk, created a sinkhole.
Okay, one more story for the road, guys. So I had a house that I helped clients buy, and I remember being there for the inspection day. But every time I had gone into that house, I was coughing or sneezing or my eyes were itching. Something was wrong, and I couldn't exactly put my finger on what it was. And I have all kinds of allergies to molds and that kind of stuff. So I figured it's something that the home inspector would find it. And the home inspector came out from under the house and said, have you guys ever been under the house? No, that's, we're having the home inspector for this. And he said, because there's running water under this house. And we're like, oh, so it's got a leak somewhere. No, it's running water. And they literally opened the crawl space door, and it was a stream that was going underneath this house. And apparently a water main had broken under the house. I don't know if it was a supply line or what, because it wasn't going out. It wasn't wastewater. So it probably was supply of some sort. And it was a stream. And I don't know how this homeowner didn't know this, because I would think his bills would be huge. But he did say his wife loved to garden. They did have a gorgeous yard. And I think he just assumed that having $1,000 water bills was normal. But it was the amount of money we had 3 different estimates to get that remediated and taken care of, because once you have water in a crawl space, you're talking mold issues. The fungal growth will happen. They settled on one that was $30,000 to get all that resolved. So terrifying, terrifying what that could be.
Exactly. And you hit it on the head. Do those inspections, because to that seller, it was normal. And a lot of people, myself included, don't go in my crawl space. Unless there's an issue, I don't go under there. So very important to do those inspections. Get your money's worth. Beware of what you're purchasing. But everything is good on the outside, may not be good on the inside. Surround yourself with a team that can help.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got another side to due diligence. Actually, what people may not realize is this time period, as Nick said, you purchased it. If you have a life event during this time period and you decide you just simply can't buy this house, you can back out. That is okay. There doesn't have to be something wrong with the house for you to back out.
Right. Well, you know what? I always joke around that you can bring in your feng shui master. You could bring in your painter to take a look at colors, and you go, I don't like the colors of these walls, and I don't think I can make it any better. I mean, it could be anything, or you could just, realize the directions are wrong. So I have a lot of clients that having, where the toilet is located is a big problem, and they need to have their puja room and that kind of stuff. And it all is based on directions. And if you don't have those right, the house is not going to be right for you. So any reason you can get out of it using the due diligence period. So that's a great point to bring up. And, that's a wrap for today's episode of Carolina's Real Estate Insider. A big thank you to Nick Bowling and Sarah Ganem for joining us and providing valuable insights. So if you're currently in the need of expert real estate legal advice in either North or South Carolina, look no further. Reach out to our trusted attorneys, Nick Bowling and Sarah Ganem at Bowling and Ganem. For those of you on the hunt for the home of your dreams or needing to sell, I'm here to assist you. So whether you're a first-time buyer looking to upgrade or invest, I've got the expertise to help you navigate the current market conditions. So don't hesitate. Call Bowling and Ganem for all your real estate legal needs in North and South Carolina, and reach out to me to help you buy or sell a home. We're here to help you make your home ownership dreams a reality. Thank you for tuning in to Carolina Real Estate Insider. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and happy house hunting.